Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today, I really wanted to go into, recently, I was on RottenTomatoes.com, and I saw the trailer for this new movie that stars 4 Asian girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I started really reflecting on how much that used to be my dream. And I can still feel there's a part of me that still wants to just be a really successful actor and all of these things. And I was like, all right, Ellie, watch the trailer. And I was watching the trailer and like, I'm sure it's a great movie, but like even the thing, like the subject of the film and everything is like, just, there was just a lot of like low energy that I could feel from the movie and like the synopsis and things like that. And that's no judgment. It's just like what I'm like observing and feeling. And it was just this moment where I was really going into how that was such a huge part of my life of chasing this dream of really wanting to be, I wanted to be a household name when it came to acting and being like an on-camera personality. I wanted everyone to know me. I never really admitted it, but like I did want fame in the way that I wanted to be known for like my craft and be like respected and honored in that way. And how much I went through for 15 years, just like struggling through that. You know, they always talk about like, oh, the artist struggle. And it's like, I lived that big time and intensely. And to see now like where my life has gone and shifted, and like now I'm understanding deeper and deeper, like why none of those things really came into fruition was because that's not what my soul came here to do in this life.
Yeah.
And even like, really feeling into like, oh, I must have done this in like another life. And if everything is everywhere all at once, then it's probably just all simultaneously happening. But I could feel like, oh, I probably have done this before. That's why I have such a love for it or a longing for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of humility that I had to experience to get to a place of surrender and acceptance that like what my ego wanted is not what my soul is here to do.
And what did your ego want?
There was definitely a part of me where I wanted to be near fame and be in Hollywood and be around celebrities and have clout and have a lot of money and be known for the work and the movies and the TV shows that I would do. That's what I really, really wanted. And in the beginning, when I started the journey, I came into it really like pure. You know, like ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on camera. So it was really pure. And then over the years, I became really emotionally and mentally sick because I got lost in the sauce of it all. What I came in with as like this pure, like doe-eyed girl who like just had a dream became, if I don't have this, then I'm nothing. And that ultimately led me to my awakening.
And why do you feel like your ego wanted that?
I could see, I was really entranced by the glitz and glamour of everything. That I'm such a pop culture kid. You know, you and I always talk about like, even the music that I listened to was always pop culture. Like anything that was poppy, like I was into. Like I was into all the shows growing up. I was like a huge NSYNC Spice Girls fan. Like I was so enthralled. I drank the Kool-Aid of what Hollywood was kind of like luring me into. And I was like, that's what I want. And I know now, like, so my ego that was captivated by all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of, I know we've talked about a lot, what kind of things did you do along the way to get to this place of like realization?
When I started doing this, so in 2019, I signed a contract to host a competition show in LA. And so I was in New York and I drove there, and I remember I was in Utah climbing a mountain, and I got to the top and I was like, I wonder what this chapter is going to be like. I wonder how successful I'm going to be when I get to Los Angeles. And the second month into LA, everything went quiet. Like the show that I was going to do, my manager, everything went quiet. And I was just hitting rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom. And when I started hearing the call to start going into myself, that's when I had to really look at who I was and why I was the way that I was. Because I knew that I had really extreme low self-worth and I had no idea what self-love was. So I started doing the inner work. I realized like I was supremely messed up and I had no idea what and who I was. And then it had me look into why I was such like, I made myself a slave to this industry, like I would do nothing, stop at nothing, step over anybody to get to where I wanted to get to. And the first ego death came at, why do you want this? And what does this mean? What does it mean to you? What will you feel if you don't get this? That's what I had to look at. That's when I realized like, oh, this is a lot of ego and needing to feel seen by the world and wanting that so intensely. Yeah.
And when did you start to really notice that that's what it was?
I was in LA and I could just always feel that I wasn't ever meant to be in that city. That city and I don't vibe vibrationally. And I was surrounded by all these people who had the same dream as me. And every time I would be around these people, I would just feel so depressed. Like I was like in a constant state of worry and panic, like to the morning to night. Like the only time I didn't feel it is when I was sleeping. And even in my dreams, it was like complete panic. Like if this doesn't happen, then I'm a loser. And the idea of not succeeding was like too much for me to bear. So it was just this relentless need to make it. And it wasn't happening. And so I had to really face that over and over and over again. I still have ego deaths with it all, but I'm in a place where I'm so much stronger and I'm just honoring like, Ellie, the reason why it never came into fruition was because your soul is not meant to do that in this life. And the entire time my soul was just guiding me and I didn't want to go right. My soul's like, go right. And I'm like, I'm staying left. I'm staying left. I'm staying left. Until I got so sick, on so many levels that I started opening to, well, what is right? And I don't mean right as in right or wrong. I literally mean like where it was veering me to.
Yeah, where you were being guided.
Yeah. And now I'm a mystical life coach at Master Self University. And yes, I still do on camera stuff, but I've let so much, I probably let 90% of it go and just honoring like, what are you really here to do, Ellie? Which is not easy.
No, watching you move through this over the last year that we've been, together, watching you move through this process of shedding more layers of the snake's skin around this has been really interesting. And we've obviously had many conversations, in our personal time talking about this. And what has it been like to really let that part of you go, and what challenges have you faced?
Yeah. So recently we were hanging out we're friends with my ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. And my ex-boyfriend goes to me, he goes, all the friends that you had in the industry, they're all making it. And when he said that, an old version of me would have been so triggered. Like I would have probably left the room and cried. And when he said that, I felt nothing. I was in this place where I looked at him and I was like, yeah, they are making it. And it wasn't this energy of like, oh, I still want that. And it's like, I'm just so grateful that I'm in this place. And I know the deeper I go into it, the more I heal, the more that will completely dissolve, where like, I'll look at a movie or I'll look at somebody that I know that is in something and won't feel this like, oh my God, it's like the draw. I've healed a lot of that draw and that need. And it's been really challenging because it's all I've ever known is like when I was in high school, the only thing I was ever good at was giving class presentations. Like I just love being on camera. I love being in front of people. I love controlling a crowd. Like I love when to make them laugh, all these things. And so in high school, I knew the only thing I want is to be on TV. So I've been chasing this dream for like 20 plus years. And every time now I'm challenged when I see someone pop on my feed, like book a show or book a movie or like book a small part or do anything. And I see the comments of like so much validation and so much love and like you're doing it and you're amazing, all this stuff. I just have to constantly go into, well, what does that bring up for you, Ellie? And if there's anything still in there, go into that and heal all of that, because I know it's just when I get deeper into it, it's this little girl that just wants to be told that she's good at something. And this is something that I struggled a lot with growing up, was I don't remember ever getting a compliment for anything. And it was just because I was always subpar at everything. I wasn't great at anything. I wasn't skinny. I wasn't pretty. I wasn't this talented at anything. So nobody ever told me like really great things. And so when I started getting older, I was like, I have to achieve something so that everybody around me knows that I'm worth a compliment, that I'm worth, like my worth needs to be said to me. And so now that I'm healing that so much, like I don't need those things anymore, which allows me to just be so free. And before I felt like a prisoner in I trapped my own self in wanting so much to be loved by the world and to be known by the world.
And let's say you did make it.
Yeah.
What would that look like?
I think I would have lost myself. I had no foundation to come back to.
But what would it look like?
What would it look like?
Keep going down that road, but yeah, like what would make for you and maybe this old version of you, what would making it be?
That I'd be famous.
Okay.
That I would be like just churning out like successful movies and TV shows, and people would want me on red carpets and everybody's interviewing me. Like that's what my ego wanted so bad.
And then if you actually got that, what do you feel knowing yourself?
Yeah.
What do you feel would have actually happened?
It would have never been enough. And I would have, you're only as good as the last thing you've done, right?
In that industry.
Yeah. So I would have been constantly chasing and just constantly cycling in depression and unworthiness.
Right.
I know it. I know it. Because even when I had success in like on camera stuff, it was, I would be in it and I'd be like, all right, well, how am I going to top this? How am I going to top this? How am I going to top this? How are people going to know that like I'm still worth something? And it's just like a hamster wheel.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. I was just saying in my head, a hamster wheel.
Yeah, of just shit. And there's no way I would have survived on any scale. With especially how actually depressed I was that whole time and how low I was in terms of like my mental health. It was just been a disaster. And so in so many ways, like I can hear my ego sometimes going like, well, you didn't do anything, you know? And it's like, no, I did what I was meant to do. And now I'm here to do what I'm really meant to do, which is to help humanity by helping myself first.
Yeah. To heal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's go a little deeper into that industry because it's messed up. And this is a like prime example of Ellie and I are very different and we're opposites in a lot of things. And I've always been really put off by pop culture and anything that was like in that realm. Like I love watching movies and I love watching Hollywood, but in terms of like, I don't know who's dating who. I don't know who's in the spotlight. I don't care. I've never cared. To me, they do a job, they act. It's great. They probably get paid way too much for it, and everyone is idolized because of it. And that doesn't mean that I don't run the program of idolization, because I definitely do. It's just mine goes into different areas. But I think for the masses, most people do idolize people that are in Hollywood. Anyone that they see on TV, I mean, they make a lot of money. So that's part of it. That then they can show up to these events and it's all a show, right?
Yeah. And it's all a false sense of power. You know, I've been around celebrities for a long time and so many programs birthed and came out like while I was like near them. So much inferiority. I could feel all their superiority, their entitlement. I could feel how much I would be disempowered and powerless and think that they're better than me. They're worth more than me. You know, they're surrounded by yes people. That's something that really like I loved. Like I I love the idea, like I could be surrounded by yes people, like people who just like let me do and say whatever and be okay. Like, you know, there was just there's such a false sense of power. And in reality, it's all illusions. And even Hollywood, like I get really entranced by it. And now I can see it's all smoke and mirrors, right? And that's not like, oh, Ellie, you're just bitter because you didn't make it. No, I just see what is. And before I was so blinded.
Yeah, because when you're looking up to people like they're on this pedestal, it's all an illusion of like, I mean, this is what we're portrayed. Like we're like, oh, these are the people that, and we're using this term, made it. That means that everyone else in the world haven't made it.
Right.
So, and it's like, well, what does making it even mean? And this idea of making it is a program that's given to us.
And patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we absorb it like, oh, I have made it if fill in the blank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of I've made it because inside I'm good.
Yeah. Because what the program that I ran that was so deep was if I'm successful, then I've done it. Then I'm worth a damn. If I'm not successful, you're shit. And that's what played over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And what does success mean to you? Or mean to that part of you?
That I did it. That I proved to everybody that I was somebody.
And what would that look like?
Being famous and well known. And people knowing my work and knowing my name. That was like the top of my list.
And who was it that you were trying to prove? Everyone?
Yeah, I think specifically people in my life. I really wanted to prove to my family and friends that I was something. And it was just so sad. It was so sad. I was so sick on so many levels. And now it's just a whole different world. I always used to say to him, like, there's nothing else that I want to do but this. And like, little did I know, like, sis, you better strap in because this is not even what you're meant to do. And just the deaths, I'm just in honoring of it. The deaths at first with this were so brutal. Like, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through. The first death was like, it literally felt like I was dying inside. And it was such a huge part of me. And the more I let that die, the more the real me is rebirthed. And now I can look and go, oh, I'd pick this journey and this path over that any day. Because where that me was vibrating so low. And she was really, just really, really sad. And not that I'm sad now, right? The sadness comes up and now I know what to do with it. I know how to heal. And it's like all that power that I wanted from all of that is like, it was all fake. The power that I tap into now is the realest thing there is. And so, yeah, it's been really interesting to see and understand, like, your soul will guide you to what you're meant to do, really do. And you have free will choice, right? But if you really choose what you're meant to do, like, that's it.
And what skills did you gain along this road through being guided through Hollywood and all of the years that you were trying to make it? Like, what did it teach you? Obviously, it taught you that that's not really what you're here to do, which you're still going into and dissolving. But what else did it bring?
That I know how to be human with anybody. I know how to connect with anybody. Doesn't matter how famous you are, how rich you are. It made me learn energy. I didn't know that's what I was learning. But over the course of, 15 years, all I did was interview people. And I have like 20 minutes with them. So in a matter of 10 seconds, I had to learn energy of what this person was bringing to the table and then how to break the wall so that you and I can have a great interview and it's good for camera, right? And so that's something that I learned, to feel and to settle energies of like, what does this person need to get the best kind of outcome out of all of it? is something that I learned.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like prepping you for this work that you're doing now. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But you too. You had, a whole different other path before this one.
Yeah. I mean, similar in the sense that, I was doing something. I don't really feel like I was being guided. I feel like it was the lack of guidance. And I know this is something that you and I always talk about. Like, we never have gone through this path and we don't hear our spirit guides. We know conceptually they're there, or at least I can speak for myself. I know conceptually, like, there is spirit guides, and there's been moments from like, oh yeah, this was 100% guided. But it's not like I'm in communication with them. I don't know what they look like. I've never seen one, heard one, felt one. And that's been much of my life, has been just kind of just rolling from one thing to the next thing. It wasn't until my master's degree that I did a master's in leadership. I had no idea kind of why I was doing that. And I was in Hawaii. I think I've spoke about this in a podcast before. I was in Hawaii and making a transition to move out there, and I just finished my undergraduate degree like 4 months before. I wasn't planning to go back to school, and I opened up my inbox, and there was a scholarship program for a master's degree in leadership, and it was the rainiest 2 weeks in Oahu that had been for 21 years. The house we were staying in was flooding everywhere, so we couldn't go out to the beach. So I was like, well, I've got the day off. I'll just apply. And I applied. And by the end of doing the application, which I spent all like day doing because I had a full day of rainy weather in Hawaii, I'd convinced myself that I wanted to do it. And I look back now, and I ended up getting the scholarship and doing the whole thing. And it was totally guided, like completely. Like I see now that this was my soul presenting me with an opportunity, and like probably putting in little guidance, little bits of thought, so I didn't let it go. And I look back now, and I'm so grateful I had that experience, and that I spent 3 years studying that stuff, because I know that it's going to transition to this next part of life that I'm in, and really stepping up as a leader in terms of healing, in terms of being a guide for other people that want to walk this path, and being a young man who's interested in bettering themselves and healing their wounds of toxic masculinity and shame and guilt, misogyny, and all of it, and really creating more equality and all the ways of oneness. And so I see now that it was definitely guided, but it wasn't like I had a voice in my head, or at least maybe I wasn't aware of it. Maybe I will become aware of it. We'll see. But it wasn't like I had this like guide bringing me step to step. And my whole path was bartending, which I know I spoke of before. Bartended for like 11 years, and it was always bartending, serving. I even went into management and started out as a dishwasher in the kitchen. I worked in hospitality for like 20 years and bartended for about 11 of them. And that was my path. But I always knew I was here for something far greater than that. Just wasn't sure what it was, and was just kind of like, I don't know, bouncing from thing to thing. And the whole time I look back now, I was like, yeah, you were guided. You were learning what you needed to learn.
And made you really good with people.
Yes.
And connecting with people. Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel that it definitely refined those skills.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is more of a natural gift. And I think that's the same for you.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like a natural gift. And then it got the work that I did. Yeah, I guess it was like a refinement. It allowed those gifts to come online and really refine those skills of being able to connect with people and just have them sit down at the bar and bring it. For me as well, it was working with energy. It was like, okay, I've got to give these people, because I was in luxury hospitality mostly, I've got to give these people an experience. And that means I've got to some level, have them in a fun, joyful,
charm, wit,
Yeah,
Yeah,
energy where
yeah.
they're like, oh, this is fun, this is good, I want to come back here.
Mhm.
I want to tip this bartender, you know. So it was always my responsibility every day to make sure that whoever
Mhm.
was coming there. But man, that's so draining because you
Yeah.
have to really bring it every day. And then there's some days that you're just in a terrible mood and you don't want to bring it.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta learn to just suck it up and put on the best self.
Yeah, because what we do at mystical life coaches when we work with clients, it's about feeling into what our client is not saying, right?
Yeah.
Or saying and then feeling into what they're really feeling. And I feel like because we spend so much time doing this with other people unknowingly, it makes us stronger coaches because of it.
Yeah. And everyone learns these skills in different ways and have different life experiences. And yeah, that was ours.
Yeah. And going back to like the whole spirit guides thing, like I've gone through a lot of periods where I'm just so frustrated. I'm like, why are my psychic gifts online? Why isn't anyone like, I want to hear a voice. I want to have all these visions. And, you and I have definitely experienced a lot of mystical divine things, but not in the way that so many others are. And I'm like, why does this have to be that much harder? Like if we just had this guidance, like it would be easier. And I think what it comes down to is there's a reason why. We are not being fully guided or fully told in all of these things. And to be an honoring and accepting of that as well.
Yeah, your own path.
Yeah.
I had a moment last night where it was a deeper layer of surrendering. I was listening to a previous class from our certification program. It was actually my third class. I was going back and rewatching them. There was something Rachel said, and it allowed like something to just click into place where I realized that I was so focused on healing and so in this, like, I have to do this. Humanity needs me. I need to get there. I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to have programs and wounds. I just want to get to the end. That I was blocking all of this ease, which was right underneath the surface. Like all I had to do was just a little, just click into place, like a chiropractic adjustment to just realign me. And it was like, oh, okay, like from this place, I can appreciate the journey that I'm on and I don't need to get to the end. I don't need to be there. And I think that's hard for me because I've got so much drive and I just want to like go all in and get it all done. And that isn't a way to, that drive's beautiful. And I want to be able to harness that and let it fuel my life and let it fuel this work, but not if it's completely out of balance and I'm just stuck in I've got to get to the end because I'm missing the point. The point is to do this work to enjoy the now, to enjoy what it's like to walk in nature or be with your dog or spend time with your partner or whatever it may be. And I can get really lost in just wanting to get to the end of the healing. And because I've done a lot of work, like finding my power, now I'm able, because I feel like I found enough power now, I'm able to sink into more of the surrender into the present moment more and just appreciate I'm not at the end and I'm going to enjoy this ride and this journey to get there, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's a good reminder for me too. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm in the trenches and like there's no sunlight. I'm like, why so rainy?
Yeah.
And then I forget to just be in surrender and acceptance and honoring of what is. And sometimes like sometimes I look back on like New York and I had some really hard times and I just look at it so fondly, right? And it's like I get so caught up in how hard it is.
Right.
I get so caught up in like, this is so difficult. This is so hard. This is so messed up. This is so brutal. This is so painful. And I don't take the moment to go, who are you becoming as a result of what you are experiencing in this moment? And yeah, it's just a constant reminder of be in surrender for what is here now.
Yeah, and that appreciation piece, I was caught on for a long time where like appreciation and gratitude, I wasn't in appreciation and gratitude for the pain that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading a lot and learning a lot, and it was all about, feel gratitude, connect with the gratitude. And everything Rachel teaches is take that gratitude journal and throw it in the trash and never use it again. And this is what I experienced last night. I didn't have to force any of the appreciation to come. It just arrived naturally as a byproduct by authentically doing this work and actually connecting to my power in my heart. And when I was doing that, gratitude, appreciation, it comes. And when you look back at, I'm sure this time in when you were mentioning about LA, which probably didn't feel like it was guided, but when you look back now, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have gratitude and appreciation for that
course.
time in your life?
Yep.
And are you able to kind of like see the beauty in what it is that you were going through?
Heck yeah. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. But yes, I can look back with so much gratitude, and not forced gratitude.
Right.
But just like how far I've come, and who I am today compared to who I was in that moment when it was all happening. I'm really grateful for all of it. And that's an interesting thing too, is like not forcing gratitude and compassion, but allowing yourself to process, feel, and love what blocks you from gratitude just flowing in organically and effortlessly. That in itself has been a really beautiful ride too. I was like telling my Patreon yesterday of like, I'm working through a lot of physical issues right now with my stomach, and you and I were on a hike and my stomach was hurting so much and I started crying, and then all of this hatred for some people in my life started to come up. And I just had to process like how much I hated this like particular person. And then as I was processing that, I heard my mind, maybe not my mind, I heard something like, well, you know that all of it was like divine, right? Like it was all divine for you to get to where you needed to get to. And when I heard that, I shifted into this place of now that I was processing the hate, I shifted into crying from gratitude, understanding not from an intellectual level of that, well, this was divine because it brought you here, but that all of everything that I've ever been through was so divine for me to come back to myself and processing all of the wounds and processing the trauma, and then organically getting to a place where now I'm crying because I'm in this place of gratitude. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very powerful for me to really see like, you cannot force yourself to be grateful for anything if there are blocks that are preventing you from feeling the energy of gratitude. When you process what is blocking you, then you can truly feel what gratitude is by looking back on all the hardship and knowing that it was all divine for you to step into who you are becoming.
I used to shame myself for not feeling gratitude. I used to really shame myself. I remember doing like a Tony Robbins like meditation thing, and it was think of 3 things you were grateful for. And I would do it. I would think of like my best, it would be different every time. And I would do it as a daily practice. And it was like my best friend, my mom, I think maybe ex-partners. I was single at the time. And I would switch it up. Dad, sister, other family members. But it never really hit. I could feel that it wasn't working. And it definitely wasn't healing anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Was it necessary for me to experience all of that to know the truth that it didn't truly work?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would look back now and be like, yeah, because it was good that I had that experience to know like it's beautiful that you tried those things, but that's not it.
Yeah.
Find your power.
Yeah. 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 And I can look back on like all of these years, how every year has been brutal since I started going into myself. Every year, a new theme, new level of pain. But every year that passes, I'm like, oh, I did that. And then who am I in this moment? And then I'm just so grateful for this damn journey. I'm so grateful for how much I can see. I'm so grateful for getting off the antidepressants, because all I realized was I was just afraid to feel everything that was in there. And knowing now that doesn't have power over me. You know, before it was like, do everything to avoid feeling what's in there. And now it's, let's bring it all up to get to where I need to get to. And the becoming keeps coming up for me right now. Is like, Rachel always says, who are you meant to become because of all of this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's what keeps me going constantly. And then obviously your support, but constantly keeps me going of, who are you meant to become because of all of this, Ellie?
So now looking back on everything that you shared at the beginning, who was it that you were meant to become during those times through Hollywood and being on camera?
Who was I meant to become during that time? I think everything just led me to what I'm becoming in this moment. It was like all of the roadblocks, the barriers, the no's, all of those things culminated to that pivotal time where I heard the calling to start going into myself. It was so necessary and so important. I had to go through how difficult that whole journey was of making it to finally open the door into myself. Mm-hmm. But it took because it couldn't have happened any earlier in my career. There's no way my awakening could have happened. It was only after busting my ass off, knocking on door after door, people just saying, no, 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 you're not good enough. You're not this enough. I mean, I've heard it all, right? To that moment where it was like, I can't take it anymore. There's got to be something more. And that's when the work started within.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Please share this podcast.
Yeah.
If it helped you at all, or it could help somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe,
comment,
do all the good stuff.
And I really challenge all of you at home, feel into where your soul is guiding you, because your soul will put up roadblocks and barriers to really veer you into the quote unquote right direction for what you're meant to do and who you're meant to become in this life. So I just challenge all of you. Thanks so much for being here with us. We love you guys. And until next episode, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.